Okay, so today we're going to do a review for the final exam, and we plan to have the final exam on Thursday. So same setting, you can join the Zoom meeting at 6 on Thursday, and then we will give you the exam starting right after the Zoom meeting. And I still haven't figured out if we do the same. Very likely we're going to do part of it on my lab and part of it on paper again, about 20 questions about the same timeline. Don't forget there is one more assignment for final exam reviews on my lab. We set it like an assignment so you can get the help. This one is a little bit longer because it need to be comprehensive with all the stuff that we have done so far for the semester. I also send you the paper reviews. That one is more focused on what kind of question will be on the final exam. Make sure you can do all the question on the paper reviews. There is the course evaluations on eConnect. I don't know when they're going to close it, so if you can go ahead and do that for both classes, because we are actually taking 2 math courses, I will really appreciate it. The last day to job, because we suddenly went online, is actually Thursday. From what I read, if you think you're not passing a class, you can drop it by Thursday, and they're supposed to refund your tuition. So double check with your advisor and see if that's correct. But the people who are attending this meeting, um, just like if you have any question, like before you leave, like talk to me, okay? I emailed back all your graded exam very early this morning through eCampus because that's the only way I can do it. They told me not to do regular email. They emailed me many times. So have you guys gotten that?
Gotten the email?
Graded exam, yes.
Uh, maybe.
Okay.
I definitely got it.
Huh? You
I
got
said
it?
I definitely got your email.
Okay, so if you didn't get it, let me know. It's supposed to be from my Dallas County email, but it appear a little bit weird. It's like KXU0001 because that's the internal way they do the email. So you should have gotten an email from me like maybe 4 in the morning or something this morning.
I did get it. I just checked. Sorry.
Okay, so I will send it to you one more time. If you didn't get it, like let me know. I will try some other way to send it to you today. If you still don't get it, let me know. Okay. But I sent back the email to everybody, and on your final grade, if it's naturally rounding like a 69.5 or above, I can round it to the next letter grade. But if not, I cannot. It will stay in the regular grade. Um, some of you are doing really, really well. Some of you are falling behind a little bit. I'm a little bit worried about you. So as long as you did okay on the final exam can replace one exam grade. So it's really powerful. It kind of count like 2 grades. So if you do it extremely well, it will help you a lot. Some of you are on the border of 2-letter grades. So try your very best like the next 48 hours. Okay. All right. So let's look at the review together. So some of these would be kind of beginning of the semester because this class is like for both developmental and business math. So some of this question is in the developmental math level. Like the first one is just multiplying the 2 together. So it's FOIL, like the first term times first term times second term, etc. And then you combine like term. So the first question is just multiplying the 2 parentheses together. Okay, and if you have any question, like stop me anytime. Okay, but we only have 40 minutes, so I cannot like drag on it. The second one is factoring polynomial. Hopefully you still remember the AC method. So we will use the AC method, found 2 numbers to break the middle term. And then like factor in pair, right? So you will have these factors. If you want to double check, just multiply back out. You will get back to the questions, okay? So the number 3 is a little bit more complex. It's a division problem. So you change division to multiplication and then you flip it. And before you do anything, you have to factor each part and see if you can reduce anything. So this top part, you can reduce it pulling the 12 out. This bottom part, you can pull a 4 out as the GCF. On top here, because it's division, it flipped down to the bottom, right? So this a squared minus 1 is the difference of 2 square. So we will have that. And then the top part, this is the AC method. You have to factor it out. So anything on top can be reduced with anything at the bottom. So after you reduce everything, that's your final answer. So those are from exam 1. And the next one is solving, right? So when they ask you to factor, your answer should look like factors. But when they ask you to solve, then you will first factor, and then this is AC method. Once you factor it, you set each factor equal to 0 because they are solving it, so you will solve for x. Okay, number 5 is a little bit more complex. Number 5 is an inequality, but it's not linear. It's a quadratic here. So first you factor it, set each of the answer equal to 0, and you found out those two number value. And using those two number, we are going to set the interval notation, right? This is 1, this is a y, and then this is a 5, and we write down all the interval. And then we test a number within the interval. So this is 0 is in this interval, 2 is in this interval, and 6 is in this interval. So we plug it back into the original one. After we do that, we see this is false, like 5 is not less than 0. This is true, -3 is less than 0, and 5 is less than 0 is false. So the only part is true is the middle part. So that's the interval notation for the answer. If I do it on a number line, I need to shape between 1 and 5. And this one is not equal, so it's using parentheses. Okay. Any questions so far? The first 5 questions.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, so those have been a while, so you may have to review them. Okay, number 6 and 7 are exponents. So when you have a negative exponent, you flip it to the other side. If it's on top, you flip it at the bottom. Become positive exponents. And so I did it to all of the ones that have negative exponents. This guy went to the bottom. This guy went to the bottom. This guy and this guy went to the top, become positive. Okay, so once you change, everybody have the positive exponents. If they have the same base, multiplying together, you add those exponents. So it's like you have 7 and 1 more. So now I have 8 of them. And then this is 7 and 3 more. I have 10 of them. So this is a really big number. So you can multiply it out or not. Either way would be okay. When you have C on top and C at the bottom, it's kind of like reducing. So you get rid of 2 on top, get rid of 2 at the bottom. So now you still have 4 at the bottom. Okay. All right, so number 7 is you have power over power. So basically they multiply the exponents together. So multiply the -2. Yes. All right, the next one is power over power. You multiply the -2 inside. So -1 times -2 is 2. 2 times -2 is -4. Again, we're not supposed to leave the negative exponents. So from the bottom, it go to the top. That's all. Okay, so the exponents rule you may have to review a little bit. The next one is rationalized at bottom. So I don't know if you remember, they come in pair. So if you have the -1, you need to multiply the +1. So 9 plus square root of 10, whatever you multiply at the bottom, do the same on top. So the bottom part is the difference of 2 square, a minus b times a plus b. So the first one is like this, become the first one square, a square, minus the bottom one is b square. So square both of them, and the top part we just distribute in here, okay? So after we clean it up, that's the final answer. So you may have to review that a little bit, but all of this is kind of like from the first exam. The next one is solving a 3x3 equation with 3 variables. So you probably want to put it into the matrix. You may have to practice a little bit more because we haven't done it for a while. It's like second matrix and you add it. See, we have some time. Second matrix and then go to the top and add it, right? And then you put in how many by how many, put in the matrix C. After that, you quit, and then you do second matrix, and then pick up that matrix. I'm sorry, go to math, and then do the RREF, right? Remember something like that? We haven't done it for a long time. And then hit enter and enter to get to the answer part. This is the answer because this is 1x equal to this number, 1y equal to the second number, 1z equal to the last number. So this is the answer. Vaguely remember something like that?
Yeah, to make sure to get that answer on the calculator, what was the path? It was like second, catalog, and then
No, second matrix.
no, right. But there was like a diagnostics that we needed to turn on for the calculator.
No, that one is the one with the scatter plot. Do you remember?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not that one. Okay,
gotcha.
Yeah, something different. Okay, so the next one is the inverse. So again, you need to input this matrix first. After you input the matrix, second matrix, add it to get this in, and then you go to second matrix, pick up the matrix A, and just use the inverse button, which is the x raised to -1 power. Remember that? And then hit enter. But because they want the fraction, so you need to do math and then fraction, enter. Remember something like that? So definitely like try to do it on a calculator, because these questions are kind of short if you know how to input in the calculator. Are we okay?
Yeah.
I tried to scan this file to you guys and tried it 5 times, and I think my scanner is broken. So I may be able to take some picture and send it to you, but it's not going to be as clear as the scanner. Number 12 is like you need to graph it. And then because it's equal to, so it's solid line. And then we plug in 0, 0 to test if it's true or false to decide which area to shade. This one is unbounded because it go on forever this side. So that's like the second exam, I think. We okay? The next one is like they give you the graph, and then they give you the equations, and then you have to set a table. Remember, set a table with that equation they give you, and then pick up the vertex, and then just plug into that function to see the maximum value and the minimum value and where's the location. Is that okay? Remember something like that?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is the longer one, like this one. If they give it to you like that, then you have to go through the step of graphing it and then finding the vertex points. And once you have that, you set the table and find the number. You may have one like this on the test, so make sure you know how to do it. This one have a really painful point that is not a nice number. If you want to, because they're basically solving these 2 equations, you can plug it into the matrix and solve the answer for the x and y, so you can get that point. Okay. All right, the next one is like transferring them to the one with the slack variable. So basically you set all these to an equation. The first one add an S1, the second one add an S2. The last one is the P1, but you move the x and y to the other side, so it's -8x1, -12x1 plus your P equal to that. And using that, you're going to put it in the simplex form. So x1, x2, s1, s2, and the P and the number. So this would be probably on my lab, and you fill in the blank. Are we okay with 15?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 16. What is 16? Okay. So 16. You guys okay? 16 has like sorry. just 2 questions. So the first formula is compounding several times a year. So this one say quarterly, so it's the first one. If it say monthly, semi-annually, etc., it would be compounded several times a year. Use this formula. If they say continuously, it's going to be the PERT formula. Okay, so once you plug it in, make sure you change the percentage to decimal, right? And then plug it into the calculator carefully. You should be able to find the answer. So you probably will have something like that. And then number 17 and 18, they actually try to help you out with this question. Like this one says sinking funds, and you need to find payments. So for your formula, you will have the same formula from your exam 2 and 3. So number 17 particularly, they say this is sinking fund, right? So sinking fund, you will look at the sinking fund formula, and they want you to find payment. So this is the payment formula, right? So, and you plug in what you know. Just be very careful when you put it in the calculator, okay? And then number 18, they say amortization, right? So they kind of tell you that, and they want you to find payment. So again, I'm going to go to my formula, and amortization is this one. To find payment is going to be this formula, right? So plug it in. Just be very careful. This one have a negative exponent, so that's sometimes like confuse student a little bit. So again, it's important to pick the right formula, plug it in carefully, or your interest rate need to convert to decimal number. Okay, these 2 are monthly. So a lot of these like saving payment type of problem, it would be monthly problem. So that's all. And make sure this is a negative, and use the negative button on your calculator. So it's like this button, right? Okay, are we okay with those finance stuff?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is like probability. So one of them give you several type of marble or balls with different color. So try to write them in the correct notation. Probability of picking a red. So you want to see how many red marble you have and add up all the marbles. So find the fraction, reduce it. And the next one is going to be the given one, right? So this is like M. What is M? M is person is male. Given C is colorblind. So don't forget the formula for that. The formula say if you have male given is colorblind, the top part would be both male and colorblind intersect together. And then the bottom one is the given part, so probability of colorblind. So if I look at my table, probability both male and colorblind, they intersect with this number. So this number go to the top. And probability of colorblind is going to be the total of colorblind. So the last number on colorblind. So I put it at the bottom and put it in the calculator. Are we okay with that one?
Yes.
Okay, so the next one is if you have 3 kind of salads, 8 type of main entrees, and 6 type of desserts, how many different combination can you have? So you just multiply them together. You have 144 different combinations. And number 22 is expected value. So don't forget the expected value is going to be probability times the first number, probability second number, probability of all of them, and then you add them together. So this particular table, this is the probability number, this is the corresponding number. So it's like 0.01 times 0 plus 0.06 times 1 plus 0.13 plus times 2, etc. So just like use the probability times the number and add all of them together. That would be the expected value for that. Are we okay? Mm-hmm. All right, the last part is the last exam. So the last part actually have a lot of information, pretty important for the next class. So if you fall behind with the last exam, make sure you try to review those video or like try to study this question, okay? This part you would definitely use for the business calculus to find the domain if it's under the root, if it's domain under the denominator. So if it's under the root, whatever under the root, this part need to set it greater than or equal to 0. And you solve it. So I just put it back to the y order, put x first. This is pointing to x, 5, meaning all the numbers smaller than 5 is part of my answer. This is the graph. But the actual solution is the domain is any number less than 5 would work. So if you put any number less than 5 here, under the vertical, it's not going to be negative, so that's okay. The second part is the denominator cannot equal to 0. So you set the denominator cannot equal to 0, and this is the difference of 2 squared. So you factor them, and I found out x cannot equal to -6. X cannot equal to 6, because if I plug in those numbers back in here, it will make the denominator equal to 0. So basically, x can be any number. You just have to skip -6 and 6. And that would be the answer interval notation for that. So it could be any number for x, but they have to skip -6 and 6. Are we okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably will be on the final. And number 25, a lot of you, sorry. I think I numbered it wrong. 23, 24, did I skip 24? No, this is 24. Okay, 24 is like this picture. A lot of you guys did it wrong on the test. So domain is going to be smallest x to the biggest x. For this particular question, it go on forever both sides. So the domain is -infinity to infinity, right? And then the range is possible y. So you want to see the lowest point for y and the highest point for y. Okay, so this one actually the arrow will go down forever. So it's starting -infinity, but the highest point for y is kind of like here. So I can see it go to 6, and it including 6. Are we okay with that? Question on the picture? This is a pretty important question too, so you likely will see it on the final. Something like that. All right, the next one is the quadratic. So quadratic, they ask for the vertex. So vertex is going to be -b/2a, right? And then plug in f of x. So you need to plug it in to find the vertex. Axis of symmetry is a vertical line, x equal to whatever the vertex x value is. So we found that x-intercept, we plug in y equal to 0. This one you have to factor. Y-intercept, you plug in x equal to 0 and found that. So after we found all those points, we're going to put it in the graph. Like this is quadratic, so and a is negative, right? So it's going to be a set-based parabola open down like that. This is the vertex. This is the x-intercept, and y-intercept, and we just use the parabola to hit all those points. Are we okay? All right, number 26. This is even leading power with a positive, so both sides up, but you can also use your calculator to graph it. It kind of look like that, match the correct graph. Maximum term would be 3 because it's 1 less than the degree, but you don't have to have all 3 terms because it's a maximum. And B is leading power is odd with A is negative, mean one side up, one side down with this side up. Maximum term would be 1 less than a degree, which is 2, and use the calculator to graph it, and you can match the one they provided on my lab, okay? So we did that last week with the exam. Number 27, solve for the exponential function. So you set both sides with the same base. If you are in the denominator, that would be a negative exponent. Solve that. Once they have the same base on each side, one term on each side, you cancel the base. Number 28, finding the asymptote is pretty important, so you will likely see that on the final. Vertical asymptote is basically setting the denominator equal to 0. So if you set x minus 6 equal to 0, vertical asymptote is the vertical line, so x equal to a number, x equal to 6. Horizontal asymptote, you basically pick up the leading coefficient. So I don't have x on top, so I put a 0 to hold the place. So if y equal to 0 over 1, mean y equal to 0. This is another one. Again, vertical asymptote, you set the bottom part equal to 0. And then this is x equal to 0, x equal to -1. And then horizontal asymptote, you found the highest power and just pick up the coefficient. So you have 5 on top, 1 at the bottom, right? So y equal to 5. Are we okay with number 28? The last exam have a lot of important stuff. You will likely see it on the exam. So, I mean, the next class. So you need to know how to do it. Okay, number 29 is a very important question because it talk about cost function, revenue functions, and profit functions, and how to find the maximum profits. So again, you need to know cost function is fixed cost plus variable cost, or you can say variable cost plus fixed cost, and they give you those information on the questions. Let's put it together. They provide you with the revenue function, which is price times how many units sold. But then they ask you for profit function, so make sure you know profit function is revenue subtract costs, and don't forget to put a parenthesis around the whole cost function because you need to distribute the negative in there. Combined like term. Once you find the profit function, this is square, right? So it's quadratic with a equal to negative. So this is quadratic, y equal to x squared, negative x squared. A is negative, so it's going to be a set-based parabola. Because the graph look like that, that's why it has the maximum point. So it's the same as the vertex. That's why we plug in f of negative b over 2a, and then plug into the function to find the maximum value. So use the negative b over 2 times a. We got this many units I need to sell to make maximum profit. So once we found that number, plug it back to the profit function. So it's supposed to be a p here. And then found the maximum profit. So you need to sell. I have 10 more minutes, so need to sell 1175 units to make the maximum profit of $840.63. So that's what it is. So this is a pretty important one because they talk about cost, revenue, and profits, and found the maximum profits. Question on that?
No.
Okay, the last one is similar to the one on the exam. They want to double their money and want to know how long does it take. If it's given you is 9% compounded monthly. So they already give you the formula. You plug in everything. They didn't give you the 2,400, but they want to double this. So times 2 is this. So first you divide both sides with 1,200. That's what you get. And then we kind of simplify this part inside. And because I need to bring down the unknown, so I need to weight ln both sides. So if I weight ln both sides, then the exponents can go down. And I am solving for t, right? So t need to stay. And then you divide everything else to the other side. Just be very careful when you put into the calculator. Put a parenthesis on the top. And don't forget your calculator will start parenthesis here, close that one, and then divide it by this. Make sure you put a parenthesis there because I tried to put it on the calculator several times at the beginning and it was all wrong. So what you will do is like you do ln of 2. So this one you have to close the parenthesis, hit enter, and then you divide the bottom part. I'm going to open a parenthesis, 12 ln. And then they start a parenthesis again, right? 1.0075. So I close this guy first and close my beginning parenthesis. So I will get the correct answer. Are we okay?
Yep.
Okay, so Julio, I will send you the exam one more time. Anybody else need me to resend the exam?
No, I'm sorry. I did get it. I got it earlier today. I just didn't notice I had it.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
So take a look. You're fine. I'm gonna send you this answer also. Don't forget there's a homework on my last homework. Use the paper review to study and do the course evaluation on what is that? eConnect, not eCampus, eConnect. And so you don't log off first. I want to talk to you before you go, okay? Okay, if you don't have any other question, you can log off, but I want to talk to Zoe just briefly.
I did have one question.
Okay. What is it?
I might have missed it. For this review, did you say it's in the email from this morning or?
No, I sent it to you probably Friday morning or Saturday or something last week.
The final exam review?
Paper review. The title says something like paper review. And I can send it again today.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look for it.
If you don't have it, email me back. So this is probably closer to the actual final, the paper one.
The paper one? Okay, I'll look for it in.
But the one on my lab, we kind of have to review everything for the department, so we have to do that one too. But this one will be closer. Okay, I'll just send an email if I can't find it. Okay. All right. So
Thank you.
You can log off. Let me talk to Zoe for
Sure.
a few minutes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.